Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, if you can hear me, please type a C in the chat box. Yeah, hi, thanks. Thanks everyone for joining us. Today I will be going through our EV car battle part 4. So on the line we have Wanxin, our data analyst and dealer, and Mike Ong, our assistant manager of HQ dealing, and also Chua Ming, and also is our assistant manager of our HQ dealing. So and myself, Edwin, senior dealer of HQ dealing. So for those of you who haven't attended our EV car battle part 1, part 2, and part 3, you can take a snapshot of our slides later, which will have a recap. So inside there, you can find out the previous session. There's a recorded video over there. So since our speaker is with us today, why not we can get our speakers who give us some summary of part 1 to part 3. Maybe we can get Mike to kickstart the webinar.
Okay, Mike test. I think everyone should be able to hear me. So
okay,
okay, so I think we are actually doing a series of this webinar on the whole EV because we see that actually EV car is actually the future because of all this government policy and also the push for the ESG. So first of all, we'll do a comparison between the EV car and the traditional, what you know as ICE, internal combustion engine. So there are some advantages, there are some disadvantage. So for the disadvantage of this, I would say that for traditional EV car, right, it tend to be a bit more expensive compared to ICE because of the technology. I would say that it take time to develop, and also especially with the lithium battery, where later we will talk shortly about that. So for electrical vehicle car, right, because of the recent the technology also, they tend to have a shorter range as compared to ICE. And sometimes another issue that a lot people will be facing when they are getting an EV car will be doing charging, because there will be limited charging infrastructure, and also charging all these battery will take time to actually do that. And lastly, there's very limited car model out there, not like the traditional car model where you can get different kind of car model, whether is it for fast car, whether is it truck, or if it is it van, or any commercial vehicle, or even sport car. You can see a lot of choices. However, when it comes to EV car, there will be very limited because I would say that the development now is still ongoing. We'll expect more cars model along the way. So some of the benefits actually they are better for environment because they tend to actually have make of electricity. They don't actually depend on all this petroleum for all this where it create a lot of release of the carbon dioxide into the air. And also one thing is that one advantage of this electric city, right, is actually it can be renewable energy. It can be actually created by solar panel, or even is it hydro energy, or there are different type of energy to actually generate this electricity, making it a clean environment. Next. So maybe want to talk about this is actually talk about all these electrical vehicle. So one of the, I would say that one of the key components is actually electrical bus registration. So you can see actually, if you see over here, right, you can see all these for all the different country, what is the electrical bus registration over the year. So you can see actually Europe is actually considered one of the biggest. However, you can click next. So, but when you actually really compare to China, you can see actually China is actually next is much more bigger than the other EV market. So you can see actually China is actually a clear leader. So they actually start to implement some of this electrical vehicle policy as early as 2010. That's why you can see actually they are the clear leading leader in all this kind of electrical vehicle adoption. Next. Other than electrical vehicle bus, right, the main market is actually the overall electrical vehicle market is consists of all these different type of EV car where we drive on the cars that we drive on a daily basis. So you actually see the growth chart over here. we also see that actually China is also one of the leader, and you can see as compared to other players, right, it's actually they are much more way advanced. I would say that much more bigger market than actually other EV market. So I expect that this trend will continue to grow, because one thing is that I would say that we also have to look at the overall policy of the different government. How is it the ease of actually implement something, and how determined they are actually going to push for all this. Next. So maybe we just talk about Singapore policy. So Singapore policy is that we aim to actually phase out this ICE vehicle by 2040 and have all our EV cars run on the cleaner energy. So other than EV cars, we also electrical vehicles, right? We're also looking into other form of electrical vehicles like hydro energy, so-called fuel cell, what you call fuel cell energy cars. But I would say that this one will be very even limited choice due to the safety design and also the how to actually generate all this H2 and O2 to actually for all these cars. So we actually have set up a national electrical vehicle center to spearhead all these drive to promote EV adoption, and also because we know that EV cars tend to be a bit more expensive. So they actually come up with different incentive scheme to actually help to narrow the upfront cost of this to make it more affordable like the traditional ICE vehicle. And also because there's also charging problem, so we hope to actually resolve this by implementing more electrical charging point across Singapore. They aim to have around 40,000 in public parks and around 20,000 in the private premises. So lastly is also for public housing estate, right? They're also taking a central approach to how build up all these EV charging infrastructure, especially in all these multi-car park, right? You can start to see there's a bit or start to have a bit of implementation of the EVs charging infrastructure, and they'll tend to build more. So next. So we talk about US. So actually US, Joe Biden has, during his president election, he already mentioned that his intention to actually strengthen the auto emission standard and also propose for car manufacturer to develop all these zero emission car. So we have actually come out with a lot proposal, billions of dollars of proposal to spur all this development adoption of this EV car. So they actually try to give incentives. So some of the state, right, even before the government start to do, right, there's state government has actually start to give rebates to consumer to promote EV cars already. Next thing is that because to manufacture all these EV cars, right, they also need to actually encourage because it's no point that you try to make a good EV cars but end up you create a lot of pollution behind. So they also want to create all this clean energy vehicle manufacturing and also make it more fuel efficient also. So same thing is like US is very, very huge country. They actually plan to build 500,000 EV car charging throughout the countries. But I will say that this may not be sufficient to really meet the demand, because in Singapore, just Singapore alone, we are going to meet at least 60,000. And as a big country like US, I definitely need much more EV charging station. So their intention is also to replace the whole federal vehicle fleet with all these EV car. Next, last we'll talk about China. So China also plan to phase out all these ICE or the conventional car, gas burning car by 2035. So they actually started, just as I mentioned, it's 2010, but it's actually even earlier, slightly earlier, 2009, they have actually start to subsidize all these vehicles. And that's why this one, China has become one of the largest market for all these EV. So they come up with a lot of zero emission zone, EV tax credit, and fuel efficiency standard. So they try to make a EV car more attractive to all the manufacturing, consumer, and business. Same thing, building the EV charging infrastructure is one of their top priority, and they have already 800 over 1,000 of these charging station, EV charging station in China, and actually they intend to add much more. So you can see why they are actually the clear leader in all this EV car policy. Okay, next. So there will definitely be some challenges faced by all these car manufacturing. We do not expect them to be a very smooth journey throughout. So one of the issue is actually the trade war tension between US and China. So you can see actually US and China are really competing for to dominate in this EV car other than 5G technology trend, all this. So you can see with this trade war, right, can actually create a lot of conflicts, and this will actually hurt some of their so-called resources supply, whether is it metals or whether is it all this lithium or cobalt. So next is actually also the chip supplies, right? Because of this technology trend, we do not because of our normal electrical appliances, right, require all these chips. Our computer, our hand mobile phone will also require all these so-called chip supply. And next up, we are actually moving towards EV car also requires chips. And next thing is talk about Internet of Things, smart home, and also smart city. All this right will require a very huge demand for all these chip supply. And you can see actually a lot of companies are facing issue with all these chip supply, and even Apple, right, is already starting to announce that you can in the upcoming quarters or months, right, you actually face some sort of chip supply shortage. So you can see this one will be actually a rising cost for all this adoption of this car manufacturing. Next thing is that for EV car, one of the most important is actually lithium battery. So there's actually currently a shortage of actually raw material like lithium and cobalt, which are widely used in all these EV cars batteries. And also one thing is that all this quality of the battery, right, is not really equal. Some EV car, so-called the battery manufacturer has better quality than others. So those all these EV car manufacturers have to compete for the better quality of the battery, because one thing is that how fast and how long the car can really drive, right, also really depend on this quality of the battery. So with all this shortage of raw material and competition, high demand, right, definitely will cause the EV car of the battery to go up in the short terms. Next. So
Okay.
I'll pass it to Jin.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mike, for a very good summarize part 1 to part 3, and give us a good overview of the government policy of different country. So maybe we can throw a question to our participants and attendees. So recently, is there anyone bought some EV stocks, be it in US or in Hong Kong? Maybe you guys can type in the chat so we can get our speaker to look into it, and maybe we can have some discussions on your holdings of your EV. Be it maybe NIO, Tesla. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's Tesla. Wow, a lot of NIO, Xpeng, Tesla. Seem is quite average. Everyone gets some NIO, Tesla, Xpeng, Lim, or Geely. Okay, yeah. Thanks for everyone. Okay. So for understand, because for EV cars, right, it's not only those EV cars player they are producing EV. So they are producing EV car. So we have seen some traditional car player, and we have seen some even non car maker. They also announced that they're going to venture into this manufacturing of EVs car. So maybe we can have discussions on which player will have advantage on what's their strength in venturing into this EV. Maybe we can share with our attendees. Yeah.
So, okay, maybe I'll start off to share the strength of this new EV car player. So first thing is that for all these new EV car player, right, they do not have any legacy business. So one thing is that for all, I would say that for the traditional car player, right, you have some sort of legacy business. Let's say they want to actually venture into the EV car business. And even though they want to venture, right, they cannot say, I do want to service the traditional car player now. So in that case, right, you have to actually continue to manufacture spare parts for all these traditional car player. And in that case, this one can actually slow down the development. You cannot fully just convert their whole factory to focus on EV car. They still have to actually do a portion of this and portion of that. So this one, they have to actually speed up some of their resources. Next thing is that we talk about latest technology in car manufacturing. So for them, right, because they are actually starting up from ground zero, they don't have any issue. So they can actually focus on using all these highly automated AI and robotic technologies, right, to manufacture some of these car. So I would say that looking at some of these EV car player, right, because they actually also make use of this 3D printing or mold injection, some of this latest technology, right. So in that case, right, because you know that for car traditional car, right? Some of the spare part, just a simple spare part, they may have require many different suppliers to produce this each individual spare part. And if they want to actually convert those the whole factory to do that, right, will take really time, and they cannot also afford to really down their production immediately. So that's the advantage that where EV car play, right, do not have all these legacy problem and straight away jump to the develop all these new factories. And lastly, I would say that in a lot traditional business, right, they tend to have actually car union. So when you actually want to go for any changes, right, or when you tell your boss you want to do changes, we are going to improve, I would say that most people are really resistant to change. So we've actually some of these car union, or whether it is any traditional business, right, there'll be a presence of resistance from all these existing workers. They will say, wow, they are going to change. Am I going to lose my job? Oh yes, so I will be resistant to change. So with all these car union, right, you actually be very resistant to any changes. So that's why I would say that this is what I think that the strength of this EV car player. Yeah. Okay, next.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ming, so I will present to you the strength of traditional car players. So some examples are like Toyota, BYD, General Motors. So they are well-known brands, and we all know that they have a huge market share. And to top it off, a lot of them are well diversified. So they're not just well-known locally, they're also well globally. And the next thing is because they are established, they actually have economies of scale. And I just like to say that this economies of scale is one very important point out of the three that I've just shared, because they actually have the experience of marketing their cars and building their cars. Now, what they need to do is they are shifting over to the electric vehicle space. No doubt that there will be a bit of a change. It's just like a printing business. They want to do food packaging. They will have to maybe build an aircon place so that they can move into this food packaging space. Same for these traditional car players. If they want to move into EV space, they may have to make some tweaks. But because of their economies of scale and their experience, and most of these traditional car players, they have about 100 years of experience. So this is their strength. And eventually, having a certain market space, they will also be able to catch on to the EV pie as well. So this is the strength of the traditional car players.
Okay, so in this place, I will be sharing about the strengths of the non-car players. Before that, right, we need to understand there are different stages of the electric vehicle development. So for now, a lot of people, and Ming also mentioned, a lot of people focus on the current stage, which is electrification. So it refers to the transformation of the power system from the basically gasoline to the electricity and other new energy. So the core for this stage is the hardware, definitely like battery. However, when you discuss about Tesla, about NIO, about those EV, right, you not only discuss about its battery, its hardware, but also look into its driving system, which refers to software. So therefore, there are two trends, which are IoT, interaction between people, vehicle, roads, and the cloud through information and communication and network technology, and intelligentized is safe, efficient automobile production and operation change like intellectual interaction in the user experience. So this trends, right, in the broad way, we call it smart EV. And smart EV will redefine the automobiles. There's a production of the combination of the car manufacturing skills and cutting edge technology. In this case, right, software data-driven is the important driving force for the transformation of this smart EV industry. So if you look into those non-car players like Apple, like Google, and also Microsoft, most of them are internet company or they are doing Internet of Things, IoT. Why? Because with the consumers' behaviors and other data generated from their main business, they are easier to step into EV from networking, which is IoT, and AI. These two aspects. And we can foresee this smart EV trend will definitely change people's travel and the lifestyle, and will become the final form of this EV revolution. And to be honest, those internet companies are good at reshaping people's life, and people are more acceptable to such changes from internet companies. Yeah. Yes, let's pass time to Ching.
Okay, wow. There's a very good strengths of each industry, be it EV car maker, traditional car maker, or non-car makers that venture into EV, into EV. So yeah, maybe we can get Mike to share with us, see which EVs car player that you think out of this EV industry is a good one that we can go into.
Okay, I think okay. So first of all, actually, I will say that for my top two pick currently is NIO and Tesla because of the current development. However, there's also potential that other players might catch up. So maybe I'll just share the top why I choose this top two strength. First of all, I think everyone know about these two car players. So actually Tesla, right? I would say that he has very huge supercharging power network around Europe and also in US. So that's why they actually are way advanced as compared to other car players because they really start to develop fast charging. So in that case, it's actually have the advantage of that. Next thing is actually what they do is actually direct sales. So you can see in each different country, right? They do not like the traditional car player or the normal currently all these existing car brand, right? They have to go through the different kind of distribution. So when they go through all these distributor, when actually the experience of buying all these car, right, sometimes it may not be so pleasant, and sometimes when they want to do some sort of servicing, right, there'll be some sort of barrier. So in that case, when they actually sell directly to the consumer, they can actually help them to do a better buying experience, and also you can do a bit of customization on the spot when you are actually buying the car. So this one help them to actually create a kind of branding. So Tesla, I would say that I would say that Tesla may not be the most world dominating cars because if you compare in terms of price, they'll tend to be a higher end. But in terms of what we call in terms of user experience, I would say that Tesla is close to the Apple of the whole smartphone. So because of the user experience, that's why I will choose Tesla. Lastly, I think recently everyone heard about the subscription model for self-driving software for Tesla. So this is very actually interesting because now we know that a lot of businesses are actually moving through to a subscription model. Why actually business want to move to a subscription model? Because this actually can help them to create more revenue in the long run. So instead of paying a very heavy upfront fee, right? So this one can actually deter some of the buyers. So in that case, what they do, they will actually allow user to actually pay off on a monthly subscription basis or for their auto driving software. So in that case, do not have to if you do a comparison, if you have paid 10-20K of upfront or you pay maybe a monthly subscription of 100 or 200, this will actually help client to think or actually subscription model. And also subscription model also ensure that company have a constant revenue toward moving forward. So you can see even Microsoft company and Microsoft, right, they're also moving towards a subscription model because this ensure them to have constant revenue. So next one I'll share is actually NIO. So NIO is something I would say that unique as compared to most of the other EV players. First of all, they're actually focus more on patent swap battery technology as compared to a normal EV car where they focus on fast charging. So patent swap battery, right, they have actually around 1,200 swap patent battery, and they aim to actually swap a fully charged battery within 3 minutes. And every time they actually do a battery swap, like the electrical system will actually help to, and battery will help to perform a check to make sure that all these are in good condition. So you also know that the electrical vehicle car the batteries, right, is actually the heart of this electrical vehicle cars. So in case the battery start to deteriorate, like for example, you use your mobile phone, I think most of us actually face the issue of batteries start to deteriorate after 1 to 2 years. Then after that, we have to be forced to change the whole smartphone, or we have to go to a repair shop to pay quite a hefty fee. So in case of this, every time you actually solve the battery and the battery is actually they are checked to perform this battery, right? In that case, this technology will be very useful for us. Also, next thing is that to build all these charging stations, sometimes it may be a bit issue in very dense city because all the infrastructure already built up, and to suddenly build up so-called change the underground. I would say that in Singapore wise we do not have this issue, but when you actually go to very big country, right, to build up all this electricity in all these urban, suburban areas, right, sometimes it can be really an issue to build all these charging stations. So that's why the swap battery technology have their advantage. The next thing is that I would say the next advantage is NIO, right, also have a subscription model. So actually I will say that when I actually look into investment, right, I will also look a lot in terms of subscription model. So for NIO, right, strength is actually EV car is a battery as a services where they actually have subscription model where client can actually do subscription and they just go to the swap battery station and swap the battery. So this one will allow users to actually also enjoy a lower upfront fee. And also one thing is that you also get to actually ensure that battery is in good condition. As for the company wise, right, you also can get to actually have a recurring income. Also, I would say that NIO is also looking to sell some of this swap battery technology to other, even traditional player like actually Ford and also other traditional car manufacturers. So that's why with this swap battery technology, right, maybe one of the key area that they can work on. So next.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Well, for those of you who bought NIO or Tesla, congratulations. We can sleep well tonight. Yeah, but and we have some attendees here mentioned they bought BYD since 2019. Is congratulations and you have a very good 2 year for your past 2020 and 2021. Yeah, so maybe we can get Ming Han to share with us for traditional car, right? For traditional car player that venture into traditional player, so which one will be think of will be doing good?
Okay, thanks, Chin. Yeah, so for traditional car players, in my previous webinar, I talked about General Motors, BYD, and Toyota. Personally, I was looking at General Motors because of their management. They did not do well during the 2008 crisis, and but they actually reshaped themselves and they restructure and they came back strong. So this is one thing that I really respect about the management. And if you look at their long time history, you see that they stay true to their motto, they aim to have like zero emissions and all. So all this is more from the management point of view. So from the management point of view, okay, these guys are serious in what they do. Another thing is, just now I talked about they are known globally. They're also known locally as well. In fact, for General Motors, most of their sales are from China, also from US. So these are the two big markets, and they are General Motors derive their revenue from these two countries as well. So I feel that they are very strong. And on top of that, they are also looking to have their own experience instead of charging experience for the user. Like they go into research and development for their batteries. So just now, just to answer a Q&A, because I realized that we're flooded with Q&A. So some are asking about a potential battery maker company. So personally, I feel that yes, potential battery company, they may look like it's a very common sense thing. It's like, oh, we do EV. So these big car manufacturers, they'll eventually need to buy from these battery makers. But because they have economies of scale, these companies, like the traditional players, they can afford to have their own battery making arm. So if you ask me which battery making company will I look at, I think I will just look at the traditional companies. because unlike the growth companies, they have really proven that they are profitable. Yep. So that is the reason why I am looking at General Motors. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ming Han. Well, for those of you who bought General Motors, can type 1 inside the chat box so we can know who gotten into General Motors. Okay, and without delay, we can get our Wanxin to share for non-car players, right, that venture into EV car. Which one do you think is the best pick?
Okay, so actually in my previous webinar, I talked about a lot of non-car players, especially like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Xiaomi, Baidu, a lot of like Alibaba, a lot of players. However, from my opinions, the top player actually is Baidu. Why? Because first of all, Baidu is the world's leading artificial intelligence platform company, and it has a comprehensive layout of software and hardware in this smart EV industry. And you need to be clear that Baidu is the only company that undertakes the National Artificial Intelligence Open Innovation Platform for autonomous driving. And you should be understand that in China, right, if it is considered as a national project, it has a lot of like benefits from the government. Meanwhile, Baidu is committed to use a lot of cutting-edge technology like AI, big data, vehicle road collaboration, high-pressure maps to create its ACE, the model, which is autonomous driving, vehicle road collaboration, and effective travel. You may know that Apollo, which is the system, is the world's largest open platform for the autonomous driving system. Currently, a lot of applications are built on this platform. Meanwhile, with the establishment of the Smart EV subsidiary joint company with Geely Holdings, Baidu actually can take advantage of its software system and Geely's world's leading pure electrical architecture hardware model to run through the whole industry chain from its R&D to manufacturing to sales and the services. So the combination of the Baidu and the Geely actually is considered as a strong competitors in this area. As I mentioned in the last question, system and the data, the software and the data is important for those non-car players. If you can get more data, you can analyze more accurate. And Apollo, this system, this platform is an open source platform, which means you can see the system management on the GitHub. So actually you can just search on the GitHub and then you can see Apollo 1.0, 2.0 until now the 5.0. And under Apollo this platform, there's a part called Apollo Scape, which is an open data set for professionals to test and review. At the same time, the Apollo has more than 200 partners covering global mainstream automakers, including BMW, the leading Toyota, Ford, and China domestic automakers like Great Wall, Geely. So from this, actually, you can see Apollo not only want to build the business itself, but also want to create an ecosystem to improve its whole driving system and to utilize its data, utilize its internet advantage and AI advantage into this whole new smart EV industries. And this is a reason why I picked Baidu as one of the strong competitors in those non-car players.
Okay, thank you, Wanxin. Yeah, well, thanks for everyone pointing out some players that you think will be a good pick from respective industry. Okay, so to those who bought, congratulations, and to those haven't, also never mind. We can still monitor and go and purchase. Okay, so but maybe we can get our speaker to share more, right? For because since there's so many players in EV players in the market, and so many countries also started focus into this EV. So out of so many countries, which country that you think will be dominating EV in future, or in terms of the electric car sales as well?
Okay, so I would say that for me, I think it's China. So actually, data already show that China is one of the leading market, and they are actually going very aggressive in the policy. So one thing is that I would say that because China, you can see they has started as early as 2009 to in terms of their pushing for EV car, and they are going very aggressive. So just now we also mentioned that about NIO and Xpeng and also Tesla, all different kind. One thing that's also in terms of these EV cars, right? We also see there's a lot very small upgrade coming. You know that is in China, right? Actually, the top EV car sales is not on this. If you heard of a very small company called Wuling, so this is actually one of the top EV car. I would say that they are doing in terms of EV car, they are doing in a different kind of approach, more customized approach. So I would say that this one they'll be likely to appeal to the younger generation. And also China policy will help them to continue to grow well. So I think China is a leading and will be the world dominating in the EV car.
Yes, I also agree that China will be the one dominating. In fact, the Wuling that Mike talked about, GM is also owns part of it also. So and also from the sales of the financial reports, we can also see that most of the revenue came from China as well. Yeah. So China is the one currently dominating. Of course, there are also reports saying that Europe and US sales are growing, but of course, time will tell. Yeah.
Okay, so actually from my point of view, actually I agree with China, but the reason I agree with China is actually because of the penetration rate of energy vehicle in China currently is not really high. But in China, the private car market is really large. So currently the global penetration rate for the new energy vehicle is accelerating, and China accounts for more than half of the global new energy vehicle market. And this is, Mike has been mentioned, this is due to the government support and various preferential policies to promote the development of these global new energy automobiles. And actually, I need to mention the EV in the new energy vehicle market in China now is only 80%. So means there's still another 20% is not really EV lah. But in China, there's a trend that people are generally accepting EV over other new energy cars. And based on a report from China IDC, from the 2020, basically this year to 2022, thanks to the rebound of the auto market after the pandemic and the extension of the physical subsidy, the car subsidy period, the sales of the new energy vehicles will achieve a very high substantial growth. And by 2025, the sales of new energy vehicles will reach approximately 5.42 million in China. And in terms of the product structure, the current penetration rate, the current EV of the new energy vehicle market is only 80.3%. However, they are estimated in the 2025, right? The percentage will increase to around 91%. And based on the China market, the 10% actually is a quite huge increase for the whole China market. Yeah, that's the reason why I agree that China may dominate in terms of the EV car sales.
Well, thanks for, yeah, so shall I just select one of the China market EV and enter now? We can discuss later. Yeah, so there's one question that is a quite hot questions. Okay, so will you guys prefer a fast charging technology or a short battery technology? So short is just to like a normal normal battery that we usually use in household item. We just take off and then we buy a new one and plug inside. And fast charging is, yeah, as the name is for continuous charging.
Okay, maybe you let them finish the voting first.
Yeah.
Just interesting to see what is people's view on this.
Okay. Yeah, it's still moving.
Yeah, I
So
think
it seems about 60%
fast charging.
fast charging is better as compared to swap battery technology. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, maybe we'll be ending
yeah.
soon. Then
Yeah.
okay, I think we put this here. So from the this question, we see that actually I would say that currently that 60% prefer fast charging and 40% prefer swap battery technology. I would say that both have their own strength and weaknesses. So I would say that for me, I would actually prefer swap battery technology because I just go there, I swap, and after that I move on. I also can get my batteries in terms of good condition, because we know that battery tend to have deterioration over time, whether is it our computer, laptop, or mobile. Even I would say that even my mobile, I don't want to change my mobile battery. After I tried, the longest I actually tried to use my mobile phone, right, is around 3 years. After that, the battery start to die off within 1 hour. That's why I would say that if my car keep on having this issue, I'll be very frustrated. That's why I actually prefer swap battery technology. Yeah.
Okay, for myself, I prefer fast charging because I think if with all the government policies on saving the earth, I think as a business, they would favor the fast charging more, because if I just go and swap, what am I going to do with the battery that I just swap eventually, and when it dies off, so what will happen? So I believe that fast charging would be the one that would reign eventually, because of looking at the government policies, yeah, from the perspective of the government.
So for me, right, personally, I prefer swap battery technology. So actually, you just thinking about one case. I mean, in the small country, right, like Singapore, we are quite modern. So actually, if we have the charging station, it's easy for us to drive there, then wait for a while. I mean, fast charging, you still need to wait for 1 to 2 and even half an hour, right? You still need to wait for it. But you're thinking about in the US or in China, if you're driving on a countryside, then there's only a station for charging, then nothing else at that side. Then you drive to there, you wait for half an hour until 1 hour, and it is quite a waste of time, to be honest. So why it is very why swap battery technology is a lot of people not prefer swap battery technology. Actually, it's because the battery model, the battery size, all the parameters of the battery, it is different between companies and companies. And this is a challenge for the swap battery technologies. But I believe in the future, right, for the swap battery technologies, with the mature of the industry, the battery may come into a consensus with similar size, similar parameters, and basically it's a similar battery size. So we can improve the swap battery technology to catering to our daily needs. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So it seems swap battery technology and fast charging technology have its own advantage and disadvantage. So maybe yeah, we will have to wait until maybe a few years later in the future, see whether is there any a breakthrough of their R&D to improve of the battery. So but we have a question here. So what are the other future growth of the whole EV teams that our speaker think it will be that it will be? Maybe we can start with Wanxin? Or maybe you
Okay,
can.
so yeah, I think I start first. So the first one is called customize. Okay, so the customization word is now considered as a luxury services for the luxury car because they need time and they need manpower, they need resources to do for the client. However, in the future, right, as I mentioned in my first question, so the AI intelligent part also happen in the operation car manufacturing process, which means consumers can place orders online and then can choose nearly hundreds of configurations, including its outside and the interior styles, seat layouts, according to their preference and actual usage, to realize a one-stop private customization of the cars. Currently, actually in China, they have already introduced this model. Means you can just use your phone to choose. There's an app on your phone, then you can choose all the things under your preference. Then this design, right, will form a unique code. This unique code will be sent to the manufacturing house. And the manufacturing house actually is intelligent manufacturing house, means not really manually do this. So send to the machine. Then machine, based on the code, they will design your car by themselves. So this is how the customization is doing now. And I believe in the future, I mean, people all like the customized thing because they feel it is yours, not like us, right? So customization is one of the potential futures that smart EV industries may may step into it has great potential in terms of because of our consumers' psychology and the consumers' behaviors. Yeah.
Okay, the next theme that we're looking at actually is electric trucks, bikes, and buses. In fact, the future is already here, and they are also anticipated to grow. So China is a leader of electric buses, and well-developed charging structures are already in place. So just now I was saying that Europe and US is also growing, so we can watch out for that. And in fact, there's a report that shows that 10 million trucks and buses are to be sold in this decade. Now it's only 2021, so 10 million trucks and buses. If you know about BYD already have electric buses, because after you do electric cars, what is a very normal thing for you to develop? There will be buses, trucks, bikes, and for BYD, they even export all these buses to other countries as well. So this is also another growth area, especially if the company is embarking on it.
Okay, lastly, I'll actually share about sharing economy. So sharing economy is actually sharing of all these resources. So I would say that everyone know about Airbnb. It's actually part of a sharing economy. And if you actually take so-called Grab Hitch before, it's also another kind of sharing economy. So actually sharing economy will actually come into two different parts. First of all, be charging infrastructure, because we can't build charging infrastructure for each individual car. Definitely. So that's why charging infrastructure I have to whether it is swap battery or charging infrastructure, they have to actually cater for to share around. So in that case, company who are working on all this sharing of charging infrastructure will benefit. Next thing is sharing of EV car. So I would think that most of us in Singapore the first thing that come to our mind, BUSG. So it's actually sharing of this electrical vehicle car. So you can see currently it's still a very, very small player. And I think recently actually the founder actually sold off the company. Yeah, but going forward, I believe that using of AI, just now actually as Wanxin mentioned, right, we'll be sharing of EV cars. Let's say I will book this EV car at 8 a.m. let's say at Woodlands, that I want to go to maybe Changi at night, reach Changi at 9. So AI will be actually able to calculate all this at 9 when the next user, maybe another client B who want to go from Changi, go back to his home in Jurong East. So you can see actually this will actually help to create a sharing of this EV car. And it's also possible that it will even make use of AI to develop into all these taxis, right? Autonomous taxi. So this taxi, right, you'll pick up passenger along the way and they will be able to drop passenger using all this AI without any taxi driver. So I would say that this sharing economy, the whole sharing economy will be very useful in the future. So I'll be looking out for the next so-called Airbnb in this sharing mobility. So I believe that sharing economy will be one of the most important things for all these EV car teams.
Okay, thanks everyone. So since EV is something that every one of us want to enter in, so maybe Mike, you can give us some which one that we can get exposure into the EV that you think that is good for us to have exposed to.
Okay, I think one thing is that just now we also mentioned that in terms of these EV chips, right, we can see actually there's trade war tension between different between US and China. And also this will actually lead to maybe shortage of chips, because we know that one of the biggest player in terms of all these chip supply is actually, I would say that Taiwan and Korea. And China, I would say that they are far behind. US is also one of the leading in terms of all these chips makers or manufacturing. So in that case, right, this could also, if the trade war continue to escalate, this could also affect the supply for this car manufacturer in China. So sometimes is that we also want to actually diversify our risk, because we are not currently I would say that even the current dominator in the EV industry, right, they can also be replaced if they actually face some kind of chip shortage, or even is it lithium shortage, or maybe because of government policy. So sometimes it's very good to actually have a diversified portfolio. That's why we actually come up with suggestions on how to get exposure to all these different kind of themes. So the first one, we will be talking about self-autonomous driving, self-driving EV car and tech ETF. So this one is actually, I would say that almost all these ETF, right, is listed in US, because US is also one of the, I would say that one of the most liquid market, and also one of the biggest market for all this kind of ETF. So we have actually the iShare self-driving EV and tech ETF. And we also know that battery is very important for any EV cars. So in that case, we also may want to look into a few different ETF that actually get exposed to the battery. So we actually have two different, I would say that two EV battery. One is BATT and another one is LEAD. So we can also look into all this. And next we'll be actually talking about other than EV car. Just not mentioned, the last thing we want to get exposure is the sharing mobility. I would say that now it may not be able to take off so smoothly because of the whole COVID situation. I would say that people will be actually resistant to share also. I would say that, but moving forward, this one will slowly take off after this whole COVID situation, pandemic start to ease in the future. That's why this last ETF, right, other than just looking into EV cars, you also talk about this sharing of the mobility ETF. So that's why I would say that if you want, right, you can actually make use of core satellite strategy. So I would say that maybe you want to build your core, let's say my overall portfolio, maybe 20% I want to allocate to EV cars because I think they'll do well. Then out of this 20%, right, I can further practice core satellite strategy. So my core, right, I'll actually have a diversified, because sometimes even the companies, right, can also face certain issue. So that's why my core, I'll select ETF. Then for individual company, right, I will look at individual company and see which one have actually the potential growth. Then from there, I'll choose the satellite, maybe 10-20% add into the individual company. So this will actually help my overall portfolio to be diversified also and lower the risk. Yeah, that's why I will say that we also want to get exposure through ETF.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Wow. So thanks for Mike and the Wanxin and Ming for summarizing and give us some insight of overview of the EV. Okay, includes traditional car makers, non-traditional car makers, and also current EVs car maker. Okay, so we have all these ideas to invest into these different stocks. So is there any way that Mike, you can share with us, or maybe other speaker can share with us that is there any way that we can get exposed to all these these stocks, right? In a cheaper way.
Okay, next. Okay, so currently, for Phillip, last time we used to have the old type of account. Now we actually come up with cash plus account. It started last year. So I would say that for this, there's no platform fee, no US and Hong Kong custodian charges. They have actually certain promotions. So if we are talking about Singapore, Singapore have no EV cars to really begin with. So this commission wise, it doesn't really come into play. But if you're actually talking about trading in US and Hong Kong, we have actually come up with a very low rates. Let's say you have actually more asset with us, asset value with us, then you can actually get to enjoy much lower rates. So we have actually quite a lot. I'll say that during this period, you have quite a lot high net worth clients who actually trade open account to especially trade in US, because let's say I use 10,000 to purchase, it's still flat rate of 3.8. Let's say maybe 20,000, 30,000, it's still flat rate. So in that case, when they actually start to purchase more, it doesn't affect them at all. So that's why we have quite a lot of clients who are actually using our account to do in terms of US trading.
Wow, sorry, Mike. I can't stop myself to interrupt, because I see it's a USD 3.88 flat, USD 2.88 flat, and 1.8 flat. What does it mean? Is it if I invest 1 mil worth of Alibaba share, am I how much am I will be charged by volumes?
Okay, in terms of the commission wise, it's still USD 1.88 flat.
Oh, this means if I
regardless
buy
of the quantity,
1 million worth of Alibaba, I will get charged USD 1.8 flat.
Yes, correct.
Okay, if I buy 1 million shares of ABC company, is it also 1.8 flat?
As long as this in US, is the commission wise is flat of 1.8. That's why a lot of people take advantage of this.
Wow, it seems very attractive to our clients with 1.8. Yeah, there's a very good account for us to look into, since there's no US and Hong Kong custody fee as well, and no platform fee. Yeah, which is good one. Sorry, Mike, maybe you can continue. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, next, okay, other than this, right, in terms of the CFD department also, we welcome gift for a new CFD trader. So in case client who actually do funding of their account, right, they can actually be entitled to CFD contract, and in case they trade up to certain volume, right, they can get in terms of ARKK or LIP, or even some client, right, they can actually trade all the way up to get a Tesla CFD contract. So that's very attractive. A lot of people, I'll say that one thing is that sometimes EV car industry can go, sometimes they can actually go up, but there also a potential when there's actually issue, right, they can also come down. Let's say if the whole economy, whole EV industry continue to face very serious chip shortage, right? Sometimes you do not want just to long. Sometimes you actually consider to get the short-term downside opportunity also. So that's why CFD will come into play when you want to do both long or short. Then next. So yeah, this promotion will start from 1st of July to 30th of September. It's for all clients who actually have not trade CFD with PSPL Phillip Security before. So the product include equity DMA, equity CFD, DMA CFD indices and commodities. Then in case you want to find out more, you can visit the link. Next. Yeah, here is the detail. So I think I don't want to bother too much, so you can read up the detail later on. Next. Then in case you want to trade Hong Kong CFD, we also have this Hong Kong CFD. You can trade as starting from 1 unit instead of the minimum lot size, or 100, or maybe 1,000 or 2,000. So Hong Kong has a lot different lot size. Then next.
Oh, wow. So that means this one, instead of because sometimes in Hong Kong usually is in 100, or sometimes it's in 1,000. So I can just trade one using this.
Yes, correct. You can do that.
Oh, wow. It'd be very helpful to young investor like myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, correct. So you make it easier. So in case you want to open an account, you can actually contact our team or scan this QR code. So
Okay.
to join the Telegram group. So actually one thing is that we'll be sharing more, always share information inside this Telegram group.
Okay, so like for example, because since just now earlier on, we have seen some client ask about what's your target price of NEO or Tesla, because sometimes we said buy low sell high, buy low sell high, but ended up right, even myself, I buy high sell low. So yeah. So is it is there any way we can check with you like what's the target price that we have some conversation, we can do it via this Telegram group, right?
Yes, also I think we also try to provide a TA for all these counter that we mentioned today inside the Telegram group over the next few days. We'll share more information on that. And I think we also have quite a number of Q&A later we need to answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we can leave it to Q&A session.
Okay, maybe I saw that I would say that the first question, I will take this question first. So there's actually a question mentioned that most of the EV car manufacturers, Tesla, NIO, and Xpeng, are not really profitable. What are some of the good value metrics to value these businesses? One thing is that yes, they are definitely not profitable because they actually haven't reached the scale of economy, like as what Ming mentioned. They will say the car sales, right, is actually tend to be a bit lower as compared to all these traditional car players. So next thing is that what is the growth potential of all these companies and how much market share we are actually able to capture. So we'll actually look into the next thing is that we'll look into the whole overall China market. And let's say for all this, let's say NIO, then we'll be observing how much actually capability there. First of all, we'll see that how much market share they are able to capture. Next thing is that it's not so easy to say I want to scale up from 1,000 car to scale up to 1 million. They have to actually go through building our factory and also building our supply chain along the way. So that's why we have to look at their capability of growth over time and how much they are able to scale up accordingly. So in that case, then we can actually do an estimate, or let's say NIO is able to actually maybe grow their number of car sales by 10% every year. Then in that case, what is the revenue and also what is the cost? Because when we talk about cost, right, there'll be actually fixed cost and variable costs. So when actually you reach the fixed cost, right? Let's say some costs are fixed. So regardless you are producing 1,000 cars or producing 10,000 cars or even 1 million cars, the fixed cost will be actually 10 fixed divided. However, the variable cost will be actually fluctuating with the amount of vehicles. So I would say that in that case, then from there you can estimate what is the total cost when they actually scale up the number of EV cars. From there, we can actually calculate what their growth estimated profit margin and profit. Then we estimate the earnings per share. Then from there, we can actually use PE ratio to estimate the potential. I would say that for current situation, right, because of the COVID situation, it also has actually disrupted some of this supply chain, and also with this trade war and also the chip shortage, right? I would say that the EV car may not actually really grow as fast as what some of us may expect. Also, they may take maybe these few years, during this 1 to 2 years, they may also take a hit and take growth hit instead of actually expanding at very exponential rate. Then after that, when this COVID situation back to normal, and also one thing is that just now we also talk about all this lithium battery shortage. So I think in my first webinar, we actually talked about currently there's actually a lithium battery shortage. However, in over the next few years, we'll expect more mining to be carried out in all these lithium batteries. So in that case, all this supply for this lithium battery will start to come in, and this will actually help to even lower the cost of the lithium battery. But short term wise, I don't think they are going to actually resolve all this issue. So in short term, I don't think these all these EV company will actually turn profitable at instantly. It will take time to actually build up. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so actually I can add on the valuation metrics to the EV. So actually there's I would like to say actually there's a rule for a 40 for the stock selections, not only for EV but also for other emerging markets. So the rule of 40 actually refers to the gross rate plus the profit margin is equals or more than 40%. So later I can send an article into the chat so you can you guys can explore the article a little bit. Then because this rule of 40 actually is especially for those companies who are doing fast expansion and expand a lot on the market share growth as well as all the R&D things. So maybe originally it is a rule for software as a service SaaS companies, and now a lot of people apply this rule of 40 into all the emerging industries. So I will send the link in the chat so you guys can explore a little bit, then to based on this can do the stock and the evaluation.
Okay, I'll answer some of the questions listed here. So, okay. So Wanxin mentioned that she will send the article in the chat. Yep. So if you see that we have this Telegram scan here, so you can scan and join our Telegram. Wanxin will also put the article there. And Mr. Fat says, please give a summary of the potential EV stock to consider to buy. If you are confused over the overwhelming number of stocks that we have just shared, one way to save money is you can consider the ETFs that Mike has shared just now. Okay, and one person also asked about what's the TP, what's the target profit for NIO by the end of 2021. Tomorrow, do look out for our Telegram. It's actually helmed by Mike, our chief educator. He shares a lot of useful information to help you make good investment decisions. And tomorrow, in the Telegram chat, we will also do a technical analysis, because at the end of the day, no matter how good the fundamentals are, you are paying for the price. So therefore, we combine the technical analysis and fundamental analysis, and then we will give you a good overview of the counters that we talk about. So do join our Telegram group by scanning the code over here. If you have any further questions, you can email us at qq_team@phillip.com.sg. Okay, Chin, over to you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks everyone. For joining us, and thanks for speaker who spend your time here to share with us. So it's 8:38 now, less than 1 hour for US market opening. So maybe we can get a rest and get ready for 9:30 later to paddle in the US market.
Okay, maybe I just help to address some of the other questions to do a quick one. So first one is actually, is there a possibility of a crackdown of the China EV car by the Chinese government? I would say that if you actually look in terms of all these 5-year plan, 10-year plans of this, so one thing is that for China, why they actually do all this crackdown? I think later Wanxin will share more because she has much more idea on this, but I'll just share my view first. So actually why China actually crack down in terms of all this technology company, and also we know like actually education. They are looking at, I would say that Chinese is actually more of a communist country, and they are worried of all these rising costs, and they also have facing all this aging population. So, and also these big tech company are holding quite a big, huge power, and they are worried that they might get actually out of hand. So actually, that's why they actually start to do all this crackdown. So you can see actually the next 5-year plan of this China technology, right? They want to focus is actually other than the EV cars, it's one of their focus. So I don't think that EV cars will be actually targeted by the government. Instead, they want to actually promote more EV cars. But however, with this EV shortage, right? So they are also internally pushing so-called more manufacturing into all this chip supply to actually overcome all this trade war issue and also chip shortage. And so that's why I say that EV cars will not be targeted. However, for those how maybe I'll say that crackdown wise, we will look in terms of aging population. So they want more parents to have kids when parents think of having kids, right, they are thinking of having a child is very, very expensive. You can see a lot highlight on this rising costs. They do not just highlight over these few months, they actually highlight over past few quarters already. So that's why they actually, first thing what they want to target is actually education, because if you compare the education stress in China as compared to Singapore, right? I have actually colleagues from China and also friends from China. They say that their kids, right, start as early as 6, 7 a.m., study all the way until 10 plus, 11 plus. Then after that, they can rest. So you can see actually in China, right, education is very, very competitive, very, very stressful. That's why the government to actually make it a more conducive environment for us parents to have kids, and also reduce the kids level. So they actually target into all this Chinese education, all this education. They cram down on this. And next thing is that just now we heard about big technology. So a lot of big technology also control a lot of data that is very sensitive. You know that actually, especially with China and US trade war, China also don't want all this data to actually leak outside of China. That's why they'll tend to be a bit more protective. I'm not sure anyone Wanxin have any other things to add on this.
Okay, so just add on actually a little bit things. Just so the things, right? Electricity, such power in China actually is controlled by government. We need to understand this. So also in China, you can see a lot of like EV car manufacturing. They boom. They are focused a lot on R&Ds. However, in terms of the charging side, even the swap battery side, right? In the end, we may have it's not a concern, we may have a consensus that it will be regulated and controlled by Chinese government. Because in China, such the power supply is controlled by government. This is the first thing. So I will not say it is a crackdown of Chinese EV companies, because EV development actually catering to China government objective, which is carbon neutral. So carbon neutral is always the thing that we are talking about. However, there will be regulations in terms of the EV companies, and I can foresee that is in terms of the electricity side, electricity power regulations. Yeah, and also if you worry about the crackdown, right, for the technology companies, I need to say that all the things, because of the fast booming of those big giant like Tencent, like Alibaba. So actually in China, the government is worried about antitrust. Definitely they worry about antitrust. And because of the fast booming, fast development, Chinese government is not really prepared for it, and the regulation is not mature. So you can see now they post up a lot of policies and the regulations. Why? Because they did not really solve it before, and this now is in the development of the become stronger and stronger and stronger. So before the whole industry become mature, they need to have a standard regulation and policies to regulate this industry. And I would like to say, an industry without any regulations cannot develop healthy, right? So regulations actually can help the industry to develop and help the companies in the industry to grow healthy and organically. And this is not really a crackdown. Maybe in the future, in a long-term wise, it will make the industry mature and healthier. But in the short term, you may see the negative effect on the price level. But in the long term, I would like to say that there is much more positive impacts on this policies, on this industry based on the policies and the regulations. Yeah. Ming, do you want to answer some questions?
I will answer a technical question. Some of you are texting that you cannot enter the Telegram. Yeah, so I think this is a common Telegram issue. What you can do is you can email us, and Mike will add your phone number into his phone, and then after that he will add you into the SG trading group. Yeah, so do look out for our technical analysis tomorrow. Shin, over to you to close
Yeah,
again.
okay. It's 45 minutes more to US market opening. So yeah, let's get ready. We can battle at 9:30 later. Okay. Thanks everyone. Stay
Then we
safe
actually
and
have more information
Thank
in the
you.
present
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, your questions coming in the Telegram group. Yeah, we'll answer from there. Thank you.
Thank you.